The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Insta. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Hey.
And Mike.
Hello.
And we have another fun-filled episode for you guys this week. A few community topics to discuss, as well as some light community stuff. There wasn't a big, Star City Games or Magic supported tournament, WotC supported tournament, I should say. But there was a big Magic Online tournament that we want to talk about, and then game day stuff that's less important, but still worth the breath, I suppose.
It was important to me.
Yeah, whatever. But we should probably just get into it right now. So let's go ahead and talk about our community topics. So first up, we have Eternal Masters being a thing that has been announced officially. Now, there were some rumblings about this being an actual thing, and Wizards went ahead and announced it this week and had a couple of spoiler cards to show from it, being Force of Will and Wasteland, which are, I don't know if you guys know, relatively expensive from what I recollect.
Are those cards good?
In certain formats, yes, from what I hear. A lot of people surmise that Force of Will will not be too good for Standard, but we all know is just a cop-out.
Yeah, no, it's way too good.
Yeah, exactly. But obviously, people are very excited. It, won't have the reserved list cards on it, which is obvious. It should be obvious. There is some, wild accusations that they could be doing away with the reserved list and then, printing the set, but this is not, going to be what that is. The reserved list is still very much so in place. But there are a lot of cards that they can put into this that could help the, legacy or even vintage format continue to exist for a few extra years. Maybe.
Yeah, all I gotta say is this Force Will art is unreal.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they picked Therese Nielsen again, because
it seems fitting.
It does, and this is sort of like new while also being somewhat of, you could tell artistically and color-wise there's some throwbacks to the original in this, but you can get this in sweet foil now.
That's true.
Or foil Japanese if you're into that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's pretty hot, not gonna lie.
I was almost as excited about that as I was by the mentioning of Oracle and Vec on the Wasteland flavor text. I was like, oh, Oracle and Vec.
Now, Morgan, did you want to talk about the Wasteland art?
Oh, yeah, so this wasn't figured out by me. I found this on the internet and shared it with the guys. But the Wasteland art they're using is actually a, destroyed and disheveled city brass, which is pretty interesting. So it's either like the Modern Masters era one or the one before that in I forget which edition it was before.
I think it was 8th edition that had that similar sort of...
Yeah.
I think it's cool though because that City of Brass with that updated art style was one of the headlining arts was it for the first Modern Masters set?
Yes.
Yeah.
So to parallel that with Eternal Masters and seeing oh, what happened to City? Oh no.
Yeah. It didn't turn out so well. But people are pretty excited about this. There was a bit of a whole hubbub that turned out to be nothing about this. People were...
I still wouldn't say it's nothing.
Okay, well, so the thing that is nothing, as far as we know, is that there was a rumor that there were some vendors that had forward information about things and were using it against other vendors. There were these evil consortium of vendors that were going around and doing things to damage the secondary market. And as far as we know at this point in time, that is not likely to be true. The person that was kind of spreading around this information has since said that they were misled and then deleted their Twitter account. So
yeah,
it's not. It was MTG Deep Throat, right?
It was something like that. Now there is a something else that could still be real and could still be an issue. But there was a long-standing rumor that came out of a GP last year it wasn't that long ago. It was a couple months ago. It was recent.
So we say last year, it could have been November.
Yeah, late 2015. But that this was going to be a thing. Eternal Masters was going to be a thing. And this was overheard by someone attending a GP, a vendor saying it, basically. So that could just be someone, talking out their end.
Well, but that information is absolutely separate from the other accounts. So
yeah, correct.
Like the name Eternal Masters, some like cards like Force of Will, other things were thrown around with a proposed or a suggested release of the Pro Tour. When that didn't happen, most of that died away. People were like, "Oh, I guess they're not doing it," and it was like, gotcha.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's definitely there was a whole storyline that kind of came out of this that ended up just not being a thing that is really worth talking about. But who knows? Maybe something will come out of this. It's a very odd set of circumstances for a vendor to quote unquote know about a set and just kind of talk about it openly and it be overheard, which is like really suspicious. So I don't know.
I will say, I mean, if there's any truth to that, though, it's like with these sets like Modern Masters or Eternal Masters, I mean, knowing what's in the set, since it's a reprint set, is a huge advantage if you're a vendor. Now, whether or not, people actually have the lists or whatever, we don't really know. But
to be fair, even just knowing that knowing for certain that a set called Eternal Masters will be coming out.
Yeah.
Like, if you... So we can talk about this more as we get more of a list, but we do know that because there's no reserve list cards on it, like the idea is to get more of these Eternal cards in players' hands, right? Yeah, except for if you want to play Legacy, you have to have duels. You know what I mean? You're not going to play Shocklands in your Legacy mana base, and those have already started spiking really, really hard. So if you knew about Eternal Masters and you just like casually, I don't know, upped your buy list on dual lands by a couple bucks just to beat everyone else for a little while. Well, you might have done yourself some good. So that's scary, and I feel it's frustrating. I have to feel bad for Wizards at this point because they're obviously not wanting these things to keep getting leaked. And like I'm trying to think of other high profile hobbies that I enjoy where this is something that happens, and I'm at sort of a loss to think about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think that the thing is Magic has gotten so big, and even just the finance side of it, it's like the cards, especially the older like Eternal cards, are worth so much now. Like you could literally invest in Magic cards and make a good amount of money if you wanted to, which like I don't think you could say for a whole lot of other like hobbies or games. So it's definitely gotten just a lot more intense, I'd say. From now, the finance side of things, don't really know a whole lot about, so I don't, I'm not going to make too many comments about it. But like, how do you think this will affect the prices of some of these Eternal cards? I mean, obviously you said like the dual lands have spiked, and I'm sure like anything else that's on the reserve list will probably.
It was MOCS Diamond. It was mentioned yesterday.
MOCS Diamond. Any card that sees relatively high
Lion's
play.
Eye Diamond.
Yeah,
oh
LED.
My God.
Yeah. Anything that is on the reserve list that sees relatively high play in Legacy is spiking basically.
And honestly, we've seen this with cards that even aren't played in Legacy.
Great Whale. Also something that's spiking.
Great Whale.
Yeah, it's a reserve list card, man.
It's a really great whale.
It's super good.
I mean,
Mighty fine.
Not even played.
Yeah, but it's never going to get printed again, man.
Yeah, but like
never again.
I guess I don't know. Like if you want that effect, you could just play Palinchron, right? Which
never again.
Yeah, I get it, but so what?
But do you? You keep making up these excuses.
Great Whale was sweet. Like
you could just play this
before Palinchron was printed, which was like now, one set.
To be fair, something else what we have to look at is the resurgence of like 93, 94 Magic, which is a bunch of people that want to play Magic old school like. So
yeah, that seems very hipster to me.
Absolutely.
It is the most pretentious thing in my opinion.
Talking about Morgan's been working on it for a while.
That sounds terrible.
He's trying to beta out his deck.
God, I don't have
no alpha. Sorry,
I don't have any sort of kind of money or want to ever do that. Anyway, but that could be also something that minorly affects this, but very, very minorly.
For funsies, Great Whale. 5 colorless blue for a 5/5 summon whale. When it enters the battlefield, untap up to 7 lands. It's part of that saga streak of untapping things. Current TCG mid price $6.
Yep.
For a 7 mana 5/5.
Man, that's a pretty great whale.
Wow. No, that was sweet back in the day. You could infinite with that with Recurring Nightmare.
Yeah, but like then they put a Palinchron in it.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
what I was saying.
Pound
Yeah.
Card's- speaking of
Pound Card's actually like
Pound
pretty.
Card's like a $30 card now. I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, while Mike looks up the price of Palinchron, I do want to let you guys know that if you follow the Magic Reddit, all of this EMA stuff is all the vendor league stuff is going on. So if you want more background information on it, if we didn't cover it very thoroughly, go there and look at it. Just so you know.
No. $22.95 TCG.
Okay.
Sorry.
So, is this something that I don't know if they said this or not, but is this something that they're going to make like so? Modern Masters, they obviously have had 2 different Modern Masters sets. Is this something that they're going to like every couple years release another one that we don't really know yet?
So conjecture for me would say no, and you mentioned this in the show notes. I think the biggest indicator of that being a no is no GP for this. There's no set celebration for this.
You can
Really
do a
odd.
PBTQ. That's about it, though. It's about the biggest event you're going to be able to attend for this.
That sounds insane. I want you to understand. That does sound sweet.
no joke. I mean, that sounds like an enjoyable thing, and hopefully there is one near us when this happens.
For less than $300.
I mean, they would probably be the same prices, if you attended. They were definitely Modern Masters
Right.
to PBTQs. The MSRP should be the same. If anyone is overcharging for this by an exorbitant amount, do not support them, in my opinion. When your MSRP is the same for Modern Masters 2. So we know around how much you're paying for a box of this. Like the price you're paying is different.
It's $10 a pack, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Same as Modern Masters 2.
I think it is interesting too, though. They said that the print run is going to be similar to Modern Masters,
Yeah.
but without a GP to support it, there is still a significant less amount of this product.
Oh, for sure. There's no doubt about that, and I'm not surprised for that to be intentional from the set. And I agree with you. I don't foresee this being something they do ever again.
This is stop asking for Force of Will. This is stop asking for Force of Will .set.
Pretty much. Now, it is interesting that Aaron Forsythe has even said that there will actually be some modern legal cards that will be in the set as well. So that's kind of interesting to see what they put in there. It's not obviously intended to, put those cards necessarily out there, but more copies is still more copies. So we'll have to see what modern legal stuff comes out of it. But I'm interested to kind of see what they reprint.
So, like, what are some cards that are technically modern legal but aren't played in modern but are played in like legacy or vintage?
So this is an opportunity for them to be like, oh, here's some Deathrite Shamans.
Okay, or like Jace the Mind Sculptor. Well, it's not legal in
modern.
modern, but it's in a modern legal set.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at all if we see a Jason Mind Sculptor reprint in Eternal Masters.
I think you could see certain, because like in my mind, like they could easily just put Path instead of Swords. I know it sounds weird because it's Eternal Masters, but they just printed Swords of Plowshares and Conspiracy, so I could see them like sneaking a card like that into this set to sort of be like, oh, there you go.
Say like a card like Stoneforge Mystic, but then they made that the GP promo, so maybe not.
Yeah, I don't.
I think the biggest thing that a lot of people have been saying are enemy fetch lands.
I just don't see that. I don't see that. I don't see this being the way that happens.
I don't disagree with that, but it is something that people have been saying.
I can see them like saving those for like the next Modern Masters.
I could see them saving that for the next another standard set. I feel like that's something they want to put in standard.
I don't know.
Not constantly.
No, it's going to be a while, but you're not going to put that. I think they talked before how they're only putting that in supplemental product because it sells. Like supplemental product, like you don't need to put a Scalding Tarn in an EDH deck because the EDH deck's going to sell. But
Right.
like putting Scalding Tarn in a standard set is going to sell the standard set. So I think they like that for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to put fetch lands in Modern Masters to sell Modern Masters.
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf sells Modern Masters.
That's true. I don't know. I'm just sick of fetch lands in standard right
yeah.
now. I'm
And
ready
then-
for them to rotate out.
And then they'll rotate out, and then your mana bases are all going to be worse, and then you'll be
Fine.
kind of sad.
That's fine. They're a little too good right now anyway.
But you'll save so much time, though. Can
Yeah.
you imagine a future in April when we have so much time from not shuffling our decks, from fetching land? That sounds great.
See, like I'm okay with it in modern because the games just don't last as long.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like, especially right now, everything's like,
Yeah.
it's 4 turns, and
Especially
then
right
that's it.
now, because the best deck in the format doesn't play any fetch lands most of the time. So
Play a couple.
a few.
It depends on what version.
Yeah, it
but
depends on what version.
But
Considerably less than most, though.
Quite literally more likely to play Evolving Wilds than regular fetches.
yeah, but yeah, like right now in standard, I'm just so sick of fetch lands. It's like, it's just.
I like this. I like these mana bases. I have no
Yeah.
negative things to say about
they're
them.
great if you play on Magic Online because you don't have to actually physically shuffle. But the games are come down to like they're really grindy, And like a lot of these decks are playing like 12 fetch lands in them. It's just like I don't know. It's just too much.
I don't know why I even said the Moto comment to me. I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it on Moto. I like
I know.
it. I like playing it in live Magic. I like fetches.
All right. Well, I guess you like shuffling.
I actually do. It's very satisfying to like manipulate your deck like during the middle of a game, like in the middle of a game of Magic, is a very satisfying feeling.
So you're saying you're manipulating your draws?
No, I'm saying like picking up and holding your deck and shuffling it feels like you're doing something.
No, I know. The way you said that though, it almost sounded like you.
I mean, like I guess I mean if you the only way you understand the definition of manipulation is to be somehow inherently creating an advantage for yourself, in which case I would like to question your grasp of that term, but
All right. So let's move on to the other cool thing that we got to see. We got a bit of a deeper look into Shadows over Innistrad. The Blessed versus Cursed dual deck lists were released, and we got some interesting cards to talk about. So we already kind of knew about Mind Rack Demon. It's been the first kind of card we really saw from Shadows over Innistrad a while back. And it's the 4/5 demon that has flying and trample for 2 and a black, 2 black, I should say. And then when it enters the battlefield, you put the top 4 cards from your library into your graveyard, and it has Delirium. If you have 4 separate card types, it checks for 4 separate card types. Basically, if you don't have that, you lose 4 life. So typical demon clause, whatever.
ho ho ho.
That's yeah.
Demon claws.
Yeah, sure. Does anyone else think that Delirium is going to be really cumbersome for new players?
I think it's going to be cumbersome in general. Like,
yeah, okay, fair enough. I was had a modest argument at first, but yes, I would extend that to anyone that has not played Tarmogoyf competitively.
Well, I think we're like I don't know. Just playing games of Magic. Like if an opponent has ever just reached their hand across the table and picked up your graveyard and just taken it and to look at it and not said anything to you, and you've wanted to just knee jerk punch them in the mouth, you're like, oh sure, yeah, you can look at that. You know what I mean? And I'm being strong here, but sorry, I'm being aggressive. But seriously, you've had that feeling where someone is not communicating what they want to see. But then when you make that part of a huge part of the game, that has to be communicated very clearly. And we're still going to have a set that also deals a ton with the Exile Zone as well in Standard and being super relevant when this is. So you got Thought Not Seer, and now you got to check Delirium. Ooh, did you make sure you exiled the card from Thought Not Seer? I do see this being messy and people not keeping their piles separate, and people who are not you catch it all the time now, whether people are being purposeful or not. Hey, did you exile this Ranafenza? Oh no, I forgot to, but it's too late now. And it's yeah, but you have to remember this. You know what I mean? You can't just
we'll still have that effect with Cletus still being
right.
In the format, so
I think it will be awkward.
Yeah,
we won't have Delve anymore.
We won't have Delve anymore, which is a huge boon. But yes, I definitely I'm going to be writing down all my different card types on my life total and putting little A's for artifact and I's for instance.
It'll be important to it's just another one of those small pieces of information that a player you look at how to pro level players do better than others. It's a piece of processing information that they won't have to think very much about. But yeah, a lot of players will have to devote a lot of headspace to it.
At the very least, you get to stop at 4 though. So once you hit 4, you're done. It's pretty nice as long as nothing else happens weird in your graveyard. Unlike Tarmogoyf, you're just all right, okay. And then I guess in Modern and Legacy, things get exiled from said graveyard a lot more often than not. So yeah, it's just the whole thing. But another card that we got that I wanted to talk about was Eerie Interlude for 2 and a white. It's an instant. It says exile any number of target creatures you control. Return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
This card feels a lot like Ghostway.
Yes. That's
a card
what everyone's
which
been
has
comparing
been
it to.
fringe playable in Modern for a while. This is powerful.
Yeah, there are a lot of effects in Standard right now that you can trigger.
Hey, cool. Does this work really well with Reflector Mage? I think so.
And Thought Not Seer?
Yeah, that too.
Hey, triggers. We'll have the Reflector Mage trigger resolves to the creatures in your hand, and then we'll Thought Not Seer.
Hey, guess why a lot of the Eldrazi don't have enter the battlefield abilities, but have cast abilities? It's probably this card.
So Yes.
Could you imagine if Worldbreaker was Enter the Battlefield? Oh, cool. I'm going to cast this Worldbreaker.
Stop it, you. You don't get to play Worldbreaker or Restoration Angel. As much as you keep trying to bring Acidic Slime and Restoration Angel back, stop it.
It's so good, though.
Though I would totally take a Restoration Angel card, or print, or Restoration Angel reprint. I love that card. Oh my god.
Card's sweet. Also a very powerful card. But yeah, I think this is a lot of people have been talking about this card and maybe not like taking notice of it, but that's a powerful effect to have it at instant speed. So definitely take note of that card.
Yeah, you mentioned real quick. You mentioned Ghostway. So the main difference between them, they're very similar in how they work. They're both instants. They both cost the same. Ghostway exiles all the creatures you control, whereas
This is target.
this one is targeted. So you don't necessarily have to do all of them if
Right.
you don't want to. I guess.
Hey,
So.
that Hangerback Walker that you have, don't you know?
Yeah, that one's fine. That one can die to the wrath. It's okay.
He's gonna stay. Everyone else is gonna leave for the interlude, though.
The eerie interlude.
The eerie
Ooh,
interlude.
you hear that piano music?
that's the best. I just really enjoy the name of the card. It's a very good name.
I hope I get to ask an opponent that, like, all right, I'll cast, like, the old blank, like, and I was like, oh, ooh, you hear that?
You hear that music?
Ooh, hey, hand me my candelabra.
Yeah, I really enjoy a lot of these cards because it's like it's bringing me back to Innistrad, like the flavor. It's great.
It's bringing me back.
We'll talk about a couple of the other ones that I really enjoy coming up here.
Do you guys want to talk about pour over the pages?
I want to talk about that card because of the flavor text. So we have more people hunting down glyphs and symbols. So Jace was hunting down hedrons, right, in battle. I am certain that the fate of Markov Manor is connected to these cryptoliths. Because we want to say hedron anymore.
Yep.
This Tameo was onto something. Oh,
yeah,
man.
and that's definitely Jason the art, right?
Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
Though I like how it's definitely Jason the art. He's got his symbols, but that's definitely the leather style of Innistrad. So this is totally Innistrad Jace. So Innistrad, he doesn't have to be the guild pact anymore. And who cares? Never go back.
You gotta blend in.
Literally, the next set for Ravnica is going to be Jace's return to Ravnica.
Probably. But anyway, so this card is blue and a 3. 3 generic. Draw 3 cards, untap 2 lands, then discard a card. So it's a lot of things. You do a lot of things with this card.
So it's like it ends up being like a compulsive research, but you have to pay 5 up front.
So it's draw 3 cards, untap 2 lands, discard a card, play Jace.
Okay. I get it now.
That's how this works. Yeah, so I do think it's really cool that they talked about how they're much more open now to, obviously the Oath was sort of their Avengers, but they're sort of done with the way they're doing the storytelling element. They're sort of done with having their planeswalkers not know who each other are. There's only so many in the multiverse, so if big things are happening, eventually they need to meet. So I like this idea that Jace is Jace and Tameo, I feel it would be these are compatible minds, right? Hey, what have you been doing on Innistrad for the last 3 or 4 years? Studying the moon. Man, I really like you.
You're the best.
Liliana's well, what am I? And it's you weren't studying the moon. Psh. See ya.
not until it gets all Eldritch-fied.
I have not added a new chapter of my ongoing fan fiction for this. so
Are you gonna write a Jace Tameo /fic?
Yeah, why not? Imagine all the cool dates they could go on Innistrad. You know what I mean? And then they get to just hang out in front of the Eldritch Moon.
Isn't that just the Thriller video? From...
Tameo +2 Thriller.
But those cards sweet because you can draw 3 cards and then untap 2 lands and then discard a card that has madness on it and then play that card.
Oh man,
that seems pretty good.
Yeah.
I love this card. Compelling Deterrence. It's so good. It's so good just for the sheer fact that the art on it is amazing.
Doesn't the art look like it's wearing a Deadpool mask?
A little bit.
A
little bit.
With just 6 weapons.
So Compelling Deterrence is a blue card. It's 1 and a blue. For an instant, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player discards a card if you control a zombie. So if you have a zombie, it's really get out.
So it's disperse.
It's
plus, well, yeah. Well, you can land, but,
Sorry.
But it's disperse plus.
Yeah, that's true. I love the flavor text on this, too, because I feel like some old crotchety guy who's so much for neighborly hospitality. It's a zombie, right? He's got 6 arms.
He doesn't like you.
He's not your neighbor. Or maybe he's part of your neighbor. Let's be honest. I don't know anymore.
Yeah, maybe it's like his arm or something.
Yeah, a little bit of your neighbor.
It's all
just,
of his neighbors.
It's just great. Who cares what the card does? The art is fantastic.
That's true. Yeah, it's very good art.
The guy's just like, nope. He sees the zombie with 6 arms.
That's the nope zone over there.
Yeah.
Next up, we have potentially the creepiest art that I think I've seen from this set.
This card bothers me. Like,
it's just Doc
I mean,
Brown.
just like that's why you don't like it, because it's creepy Doc Brown.
It's not Doc Brown. I get where you get the Doc Brown. This is definitely Marty Feldman's Igor from Young Frankenstein. Look at that face.
Okay, fair enough.
He's a Toth collector.
So Tooth Collector, 2 and a black for a 3/2. When Tooth Collector enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. And this card also has Delirium, so again, it's going to check at the beginning of your upkeep for the card types you have in your graveyard. If you have 4 different ones or more, then you get to target a creature and it gets -1/-1 for that turn as well, which, I don't know, I mean, that's potentially a free kill every turn for a small creature, or makes, blocking difficult. It's not the best card, it's an uncommon.
No, I'm saying
it's a sweet limited card.
The flavor is so awful. Just like, ooh, yeah, your creature had a tooth pulled this turn. It gets -1/-1, and I add to the collection.
So, like, against the 1/1, it actually just kills them. Like, oh, I pulled your tooth out dead.
This mimics old-timey when you didn't have really good any sort of medicine or anesthetic. It's like, all right, we got pulled tooth.
That was a bad tooth extraction.
There's a 50% chance you're just dead.
Take this shot of whiskey and hold my hand.
Yeah, this card's a pretty good limited card for sure. And again, just creepy. Just very, very good job, Wizards. You did it. Next up, we have Topplegeist. So 1 white for a 1/1 flyer. And then when it enters the battlefield, you get to tap a creature, and then has Delirium. You get to tap a creature every upkeep, basically. Delirium, seemingly for all cards, checks on upkeep, which is nice. They all have different
opponents upkeep. Is it all
each opponent's upkeep? So it's still an upkeep, but
Mind Wreck Demon's your upkeep. So
yeah, so
it's not all even, but close.
It's close. It's still upkeep at the very least, but they do change on when you're actually checking them. Whose upkeep?
That's
a
little awkward, because if you have multiple cards out, and one checks on their upkeep, one checks on yours, it could get a little confusing.
Absolutely.
So this is like a pseudo. What's the card from Origins? The 4/6 that tapped.
The Sentinel.
Yeah, Sentinel of the Eternal Watch or something like that. I don't know. Anyway. So those are the cards that we are getting a preview of for the set. But it is important to know that the promo card for the set for the Blessed is definitely Geist Estate Trapped with some sweet new art. So that card is reasonably expensive. It's actually the majority of cost of the deck at this point in time. It's right around $10 to $12. So at the very least, you're getting a pretty good card out of the deal, regardless of what else is in the set. So pretty cool.
There's a Dread Return in the other side.
Yeah, new art as well with the Dread Return. That Iron's Forsyth let us know about. He didn't show the art, but that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think it's important to note too. If this is my understanding, this is the last dual deck. Is that right? Because dual decks and
Clash Packs, Clash Packs, and Event Decks.
Event Decks. Okay, never mind. I take that back. Okay.
Those are being retired. I think the dual decks still do well enough.
Live on.
I think they still live on.
So you can still hold out hope for your Jace dual deck.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. I don't know if I'll pick this one up or not. I usually try to, but we'll see.
This comes out next week.
Yeah, very, very soon. So
next Friday the 26th.
Own some. I mean, with how good Eerie Interlude might be, it might be worth it at least to pick up one just so you have it, just in case something crazy happens, and then. But
you want to get the original art, don't you? Of what's the guy with the zombie?
Oh yeah, that's sweet. It's worth buying just 4 of them just to have a playset of that guy.
Compelling Deterrence, original art.
Yeah,
just get that.
I hope they don't change it. Hopefully they don't. But yeah, that card's sweet.
No, I'm saying like the actual piece of art. Like,
the original.
You just want to own that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like obviously, if anyone can hook me up with that, that'd be super cool. But anyway, let's move on to the competitive segment. So over the weekend we had again that big MTGO tournament. We had the MOCS, and this kind of blends in with our first topic. So we've taken a look at, excuse me, not MOCS. MOCS is a blend with the first topic.
No, MOCS is standard.
I was thinking about the PTQ.
PTQ,
There was also a modern PTQ that blends in with the first topic. So the first topic is that MTGO is definitely showing that Eldrazi is here and a large portion of the Magic Online metagame. So posted on, let me get the name of the website here real quick, Modern Nexus. This is a website that, as its name would imply, devotes a lot of time to the modern format, and they've basically released a modern metagame and Eldrazi checkup. So based on their current stats for the specifically Magic Online metagame, Eldrazi decks are 40% of this metagame, which is an insane amount when you look at it. Now, when taking a look at it, I think as the format as a whole is about 25%, which is still a fairly large amount to the paper and online formats combined. But yeah, this of course is all the flavors of Eldrazi, but there definitely is sort of a core set of creatures at the very least and lands that you're playing. But with slight variations on, what colors you play and what your, game plan might be. But most of the time, I guess the game plan is play busted lands, get super big creatures out fast, kill you. But what do you guys think about this? I mean, I expected this, looking at the top 8 of the Pro Tour and knowing what players typically do, like, how they treat Modern is you just play the best deck until the best deck gets banned, and then you just play the other best deck. And that's how it's been a lot of the time. It's not like people are really inclined to brew and figure out a way to beat, the quote-unquote best deck. They just, play the enemy instead of trying to defeat it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty typical for, after a Pro Tour. Like you said, I mean, people are just going to pick it up, try it out. Now, this, I think, is more than just that.
Yeah.
I think the deck is obviously very powerful and hard to hate out, so it's not really surprising. I just feel like, especially with Magic Online, it's kind of it doesn't exactly mirror paper. You know what I mean? Like, in general, in Magic Online, you're going to play a lot more mono red burn decks or whatever.
Well, I think it's important to note, too, that comparatively, like, the Eldrazi deck is like a $300 deck online, which compared to even its paper counterpart is like 50%. So like if you had any number of these cards already and like you were playing standard or something, like that actually probably wasn't that terrible for a lot of people to get into. So you may be seeing that as well. I don't think it's a total explanation for it, but it's actually not a horrifically expensive deck.
Right.
So I will say this is worrisome, but we are going into a couple weeks where we're going to have some major modern events. We have Star City Louisville this weekend, which is modern, and then we have GP Detroit at the beginning of March. And I think if after those two events you see, only the Eldrazi decks up top as opposed to other decks adapting the way you would hope it would, then it might be time to concede that let's get something out of here. So I agree. Moto as a format is going to play the best deck and just play it and play it and play it. And we talk about like percentages, like you can just jump into leagues and play those leagues over and over and over and over again. So you get numbers pushed that way as well. So it's worrisome, but I don't think we've lost hope yet. You can't lose all your hope yet.
No,
okay?
I mean
still
like
some anti-Eldrazi light shining in the sky, and when we bet who's going to answer it.
Right. I mean there's still definitely ways that you can combat the deck if you really want to. And then you could just be Jeff Hoogland and just play Kiki Horde and still be fine. So whatever. But there's other decks that are still very competitive in the format, and you shouldn't necessarily lose hope. And to be honest, if the format is too degenerative, then it's going to change in April. Like that's what it breaks down to.
I think what makes it worrisome is I can already see people that normally play Modern are just not really interested in playing Modern right now. In myself included, I'm not really terribly interested. I mean, I haven't played the format since the Pro Tour, but I'm not like excited to
do so.
Jump in there and fight against 40% Eldrazi decks.
That's frustrating though, because like why if you did love the format, so why wouldn't you actively try to beat it?
Okay, I did adjust my deck choice. I don't know if it's actually good or not. I'm just saying I haven't played against it, and I'm I'm not saying like I'm not going to play the format, but I'm just not excited about it. I'm just like, this just seems worse than it was before.
And I don't disagree. I just think it's frustrating. I saw people people have already, they had an article comparing this to like, might have been Mark Nestico today, I'm not sure, on Star City, but comparing it to like Affinity and like turnouts for Affinity. But you had months of Affinity and that still started, and months of Affinity followed up by Kamigawa, like followed up by Jit and nothing else. So like, yeah, that was awful. Or people talk about like combo winter with like Urza's. It's like, yeah, but again, this was like a degenerate time period, in general. So like, I feel like you have to try and fight first. Like, just deciding, like, oh, well, this is just like Affinity was. Like, Affinity showed its dominance for a long time. Like, try to beat it. Like, trust me, if you've pulled out all the stops, if you're like, like throwing everything and like, all right, well, here's the kitchen sink. It's literally all I have left. All right, didn't work. Okay, then we should look at something. But if you're just like, oh, I don't really want to play against Eldrazi, and I'm not trying to taunt you by saying that, but you are a wimp.
Wow.
Hey, you know what? Fight. Join.
Hey, no, I'm with you.
Take the oath.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think that people should try to play the format and try to figure it out before everybody. I just feel like just the modern format in general has kind of fostered this mentality of like, well, if anything gets too good, they'll just ban it. So we'll just wait until they ban it. We're not going to try to do anything about it. And like, I feel like a lot of people have that sense that like, well, obviously this deck's getting banned, so either I'm not going to invest in the Eldrazi deck, or I'm just going to wait until they ban it, and then I'll start playing again. Like, I feel like I've heard a lot of people say something similar to that.
No, and you're probably right about that. And to that end, I do feel like as much as I enjoy it, I guess I'm starting to come around on the not having Modern be a Pro Tour format, because if that's what's going to do to Modern in general, a format I really love, then that's upsetting. And like, I really want to see pro players, play it. But if that's how Wizards are going to have to treat the format because of things like this, then like, I don't know, it makes me a little sad. And I can't really stop that.
I guess it'll just be, you'll have to wait till GPs roll around to see your pro players play it. Unfortunately,
but then they'll feel about Modern like they did about Legacy, which is like,
well, like, so the danger is they'll feel about Modern what they did about Extended. Like, that's the other thing.
But I think Modern's been more widely embraced than Extended ever was.
Sure.
Extended barely ever made it out of the PTQ level. GPs for this are beating standard GPs. Open events are beating standard opens for Modern. And you're in danger of losing that. So,
yeah. I mean, I don't don't expect anything to change before April, obviously. And it is like unfortunate that it is making people disinterested in the format. But it's just like, I don't know, like, that's why they changed the rotation, and that's why they changed when sets come out. Sets come out sooner so that they can make these, oopsies.
Announcements quicker, yeah.
Yeah, or they can make these oopsies, sort of things, where they just like, oh man, this format's kind of messed up.
Oops, Eldrazi!
This format's kind of messed up, but like, maybe they figured that out, then that was going to happen, and either they could have stopped it and made compromises to how they were going to make the set, and then we would have got less, interesting cards in the set, or they could have been like, well, we'll have this for X amount of months, and, then we'll ban something. And I would rather them not compromise on the actual creation of cards, with the ability to, fix something, rather than, us just have garbage cards. I mean, that's going to cause the most disinterest in a format if you have cards that you just don't want to play.
You're talking about Theros Standard?
Yes, I am.
Where there were 2 decks?
Yeah, so at the very least, like, I mean, you could definitely say that, well, in Modern, they've created 1 deck in Modern, but we the data doesn't support that. There's still tier 1 decks that are still, available that aren't Eldrazi decks. But
so Affinity?
Yes.
I mean, like, we would play a number of the Pro Tour Gauntlet decks, and I'll say, like, so I got handed the Archangel deck a couple of times in the Pro Tour Gauntlet, and that deck beat the brakes off the Eldrazi deck every single time.
I do think that deck is tier 1 as well, and you probably don't see it as much in the MTGO metagame because it's hard to make that deck work within the time constraint you have.
Having had to gain infinite life a number of times, I stopped at 40 many times, and it just or stopped at, like, for the one deck where you're scrying for your your red cap,
Red
the
cap.
regular one, you're just like, I'm just gonna gain life until I see my red cap. But like the Archangel one, you're just like gaining enough life until you could attack for lethal. So yeah, that is definitely a reason why. But that deck, I mean, that deck was super real, and it was just like, I mean, like, oh, these games don't like their most aggressive starts could still be stymied, and that felt really good. So I think there's ways to beat it, and like I said, yeah, you're right. Those decks do not do nearly as well on Moto just because the time consuming and people won't concede to them, and I get that. So.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, we're all planning on going to Detroit, so okay. Well, Dave's not. Never
Again,
mind.
wimp.
Well, I wasn't gonna go before anyway, but now it's like I'm not really sad that I'm missing out on it. Let's put it that way.
I mean, you're sad that you're missing out on hanging out with us,
I am sad about that.
having
I'm
a good
not sad
GP
about
weekend,
actually
hanging out in
playing
Detroit.
Magic.
And listen to Jordan get lung cancer again.
He got like a lung infection.
Tell him to,
It's not that
bring
dire.
Just tell him to bring a gas mask. Next time.
Just bring oxygen with
You have
him.
like one of those
Yeah.
old medieval like doctor's masks, like the beak.
Yeah, the beak. It's stuffed with flowers
Yeah,
and
like
stuff like that.
lilacs and
Yeah,
stuff.
so he doesn't have to smell Detroit.
Sorry, Detroit.
Sorry, Detroit. Not sorry. Whatever.
Smell better.
But whatever. I mean, like the GP will be interesting. If it's all Eldrazi, well then you'll just have to figure out a way to beat it. So whatever.
Now, I mean, could very well be after GP Detroit, we're back here like Doc Browning it, like we've got to go back to when before, like, and it's possible. But then luckily at that point, then you're talking about a month until you get another announcement. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly.
So everyone just keep breathing.
Yeah, it'll be fine. It does suck a little bit, but whatever. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, yeah, whatever. Like it doesn't matter. Just wait till April. Who cares?
Yeah, the thing that's like just kind of stinks is that you had this really diverse metagame. I felt like, even when Twin and Bloom were still decks, I mean, they didn't make up that much of the actual metagame, and there were just like so many decks that you could play that were at least competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they weren't tier 1. And now it's like literally, if you're not playing Eldrazi or Affinity or like some kind of Abzan
Core
Company deck,
yeah.
or core deck, then what are you even doing?
Yeah.
It's
That could in fact just be the case. I think it's a 1-2 punch as well, because you have the banning of Splinter Twin, which I think disinterested a lot of people in Modern. Then you have the really not diverse top 8 of the Pro Tour, and then the Rise of Eldrazi decks. And I think that has really put a damper on people's excitement about Modern.
Well, I mean, I think it's been said many times, but like Twin was the fun police, and now that, and Twin was, not only was it just a really just consistent deck or consistent combo, it was kind of the control deck of the format as well, and it kept a lot of things in check. And now it's just kind of like, all right, well, if they ban Eldrazi, then what's next? Is the Grishol brand deck just just out of control? It's going to be some other turn 3, turn 4 kill deck that's going to pop up. But maybe that's better than what we have now. I don't know.
But is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
That's what Modern has always has just kind of felt like to me, is like it never. If you want to like invest in the format once and never again, don't play a tier 1 deck, because eventually it'll get banned. If you invested in Affinity, then you won. You probably have like the longest deck before it gets banned. Yeah. Congratulations.
Just play Delver. Like, you'll never actually win with it, but you can do like fairly well.
Cool.
Maybe get some cash finishes.
Awesome. That sounds like a great way to game the format. Do you want to win? I don't know what to
you
tell
don't
you.
want to win too much, but you want to win just enough to like make you feel good.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
That was a really sour note to end Modern with. Sorry, guys. We do like the format. We swear. Anyway, let's move on to some super diverse formats. I mean, Standard, which probably isn't that diverse at all, actually. But the MOCS was over the weekend, and had some pretty sweet lists, some pretty well-known people that ended up top 8ing. We had Li Shijian and Brad Nelson playing 2 different versions of Bant Coco, actually top 8ing the tournament. And then we had a few 4-color rally decks, I believe. At least one, because that's the winning list. but maybe a few other ones. And then we had a ramp list that also was the in the finals, and it was a sort of very close, at least a close approximation to what we saw do well week one in the format, where it was green and colorless and no red, which is fairly interesting. A little bit obviously different from that, but
had a Jeskai Black deck.
yes,
Finished 5th. I thought really one of the most interesting decks was just outside of the top 8 was
Raptor.
Was
right?
Raptor, yeah.
Yeah, let's. Have you had a chance to take a look at this deck, Mike?
Yeah.
A little bit.
So for those who don't know who Raptor is, it's Josh Utter-Layton.
Yeah. His sideboard's sweet.
Yeah. So he basically
Sideboard dough.
So he basically played a Tarka Red,
I mean,
but take out the Teamer Battle Rages and the Become Immense. So
Yeah.
he's not playing the combo. So it's just a Tarka Red creatures plus P and Karen Nalaar.
yeah.
Main deck, right? He is playing
Three of them main deck.
Yeah, and he is playing 3 outnumbers in the main, which is also
Right.
kind of an odd
I
choice.
think card is sweet actually.
So
Yeah.
so he's leveraging the fact that I'm going to have a lot of creatures. I have a lot of token makers in my deck. I'm going to use this kill spell to kill your giant creature.
As an
Right.
instant though too, like I feel like I definitely if you're ignoring the sideboard, I think that card's really fairly innovative. Like something that probably shouldn't have been ignored as long as it has been. I could be
Right.
crazy, maybe it's just not good enough, but it seems like it's kind of exactly what this deck wants.
I think it lets you do a lot of cool things. Like it lets you, it's just a 1 mana removal. Like you could play that and then play a Bushwhacker, or like just play something else and then a 1 mana removal. Like you could play a Hurling Outburst. I guess if you have 4 mana, maybe that's not realistic, but Hurling Outburst, then that.
I mean, it's a sweet hit off an Abbott too, because
Yeah.
later in the game, even if you're choked on mana, like you probably have a number of guys, and like all of a sudden your Abbott trigger gets you a card that takes down a Siege Rhino. It's a big deal.
Right.
So-
No, of course, it has its downsides. Obviously, if you don't have creatures, it doesn't actually do anything.
Nope.
And it can't, I guess, reliably kill a Jace on turn 2. So, it definitely has its downsides. But anyway, the most interesting part of this deck is the sideboard. So it starts off with 1 Cinderglade and 3 Windswept Heath. So this has 4 lands to start it. And then it plays 3 Den Protectors, 4 Nissa Voice of Zendikar, and 2 Yasova Dragonclaws. So it's bringing in all these green cards. Nissa is pretty interesting because we haven't really seen too much of that.
None, just absolutely
really
zero. Yeah.
And with the amount of tokens in this deck, like the -2 ability is actually pretty awesome
Yeah.
in this.
And just the sheer fact of that, it just actually works with everything that this deck is trying to do. It creates tokens for outnumber. Again, it pumps your entire crew when you need it to. And I think that he was kind of bringing this sort of package in against like grindier games because they just weren't expecting your game 2 to look like this, where it's like, oh, you are sideboarding into a longer game that I'm not necessarily prepared for.
I think, yeah, like you said, I think it definitely probably caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
And
As transformational sideboards typically do.
right. It's not fully transformational. To be fair, it's kind of just supporting what he already has going on in the main deck. But our Tarka Red is a deck that we saw it. It has the ability to go wide, but really doesn't have that many ways to actually pump the creatures. It's basically okay, I have a bunch of 1/1s, and if I don't have a Tarka's Command, or I guess Bushwhacker is kind of a new one that it has access to, but it could go wide, but didn't really have a great go wide plan. A lot of times, the Teamer Battle Rage Become Immense is the way it really was able to punch through. And this kind of gives you a different angle. It's like going super wide. It's trying to go spread out as far as possible and push that as far as possible. So it's definitely an interesting take, and definitely it's a nice fresh take on a Tarka Red. I feel like so.
Yeah.
Now whether this is
Good or
viable
not.
going forward, who knows?
Yeah, that is the big question. I think a lot of people are hoping that maybe Josh does some sort of article or video or something about that, talking about it.
I hope
or
he's just
anything.
silent. He's just
yeah,
like,
just doesn't say anything about it.
that's actually not my moto handle. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, what's I mean, a lot of people call me that, but I don't know where you're getting that. You're putting two and two together.
That's
there.
obviously a Will Raptor, and I'm Raptor, so I don't know.
But yeah, hopefully, I mean, like, I'm a big fan of the Atarka Red deck, but it just has not been very competitive since about week 1 in the format. It is always kind of there, but at least paper wise, it's not something you would necessarily want to bring to a tournament, in my opinion. So if there was a way to make it more competitive, I'm all ears for it. So, and then I mean, we also do have I think some other people just outside the top 8.
So Paul Rietzel in 11th and Matt Sperling in 12th.
Mm-hmm.
They're both playing the Bant Company deck, which is really, really getting a lot of hype now.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people are talking about this as being right up there with Rally as kind of the best deck standard.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played against it that much, so I'm not sure. But I mean, it has a lot of sweet cards. Like I think Collected Company is one of, if not probably the best card in standard. It's just in a lot of different shells right now, and
very
all those
versatile.
decks are good.
I mean, like, I honestly think that a lot of what makes Rally the powerhouse that it is, and what makes Band Company good is just having access to Reflector Mage.
Yeah,
in the conjunction with Collected Company. Having access to both those cards is you just put they're two great tastes that taste great together. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think
What?
Can't deny it. It's true.
pizza and ice cream. Yeah, I don't know. That didn't make any sense.
No, made less sense than what I said. So
Yeah.
Congratulations. I
Sure.
don't know how to go
Thanks.
there.
Peanut
But-
butter and banana?
Yeah, there you go. But for sure, I think that if this is sort of is the new hotness, as it were. We can thank Andy Ferguson for first introducing us, but I think Mike was telling us before we started casting, he's been doing some testing, and apparently the list that Brett Nelson was running was the new hotness.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Again, I just wanted to reinforce that I was playing Eldrazi Sky Spawner in Standard before it was cool, so go on.
But you didn't originate that, so why would you pretend that you did?
But I'm just saying,
You took it from a list from someone else and played it. And did
yeah, and they
and then-
also did it before it was cool.
You hear that, like, that dead space there? That's my feeling about that topic. All right.
Anyway, talk about Brad's list.
Yeah, honestly, like, so I tried them both out, and, like, obviously, if you look at these, the thing you'll note first and foremost is that the Nelson list just has more threats in it than the Ferguson list does. And, like, it was trying to play, like, the original list was trying to play, like, Ojitize commands, which are good, and, like, in theory, make a lot of sense, because you want to hold up 4 mana, and, like, sometimes you have Ojitize commands, sometimes you have Collected Company, but that just felt, like, really cute. But honestly, the card that's felt the best in here, like, Eldrazi Skyspawner has been great. One of the weaknesses of this deck is the lack of flying, and one of the ways to get an edge in a number of these, like, company mirrors, or even, like, playing against the rally decks is having flying. So, like, just playing a flyer is cool. But then you also have Wingmate Rock, and that card just is still great. It's really great the turn after you cast Eldrazi Skyspawner, because you attack for 2 flying, and then you sack your Scion token and play a turn 4 rated Wingmate Rock. And then, like, some of the games, especially in the mirror, are just, like, done. The games are over. You know, like, maybe they have a Reflector Mage to bounce the token. They're still taking 5 flying. Maybe they bounce the Wingmate Rock. Okay, I'll see you in 2 turns. This birdie don't mind waiting. It's coming home to roost. No, not roast. You can't target it with that. Roost.
Roost. 2 O's.
And also, it was interesting if you. I'm sorry, I just kicked somebody. But if you pay attention to these, like, the mana bases are exactly the same. Like, the Ferguson mana base and the Nelson mana base are exactly the same. So like, he was like, nah, I like this mana base. This is fine. And the card that's really good is Lumbering Falls.
Yeah.
It is. You feel very confident when your opponent's at a low life total, knowing that, like, I can just, like, attack with my Lumbering Falls. Hexproof being really important.
Have you gotten to give him +2/+2 with Advocate?
I've gotten to give it +4/+4.
Woo!
Yeah, really cool thing. Advocates stack. Because it's like this, and lands you control go +2/+2, so they stack. So I've gotten to give it +4/+4, and then put a counter out with a Jamoka's command and swing for lethal. That was pretty sweet.
It's almost like that card's really good.
Yeah, you're right. Lumbering Falls is really good. Like, what?
Sylvan Advocate.
Sylvan Advocate is definitely a good card in this list. You don't always hit 6 mana.
Yeah.
Sure.
You discard it to Jace a lot.
Okay.
It's terrible against Eiley. It is the most pathetic thing in the world against Eiley. I am not kidding. It is so bad it makes you cry.
Yeah. I don't disagree with
that's
that
fair.
sentiment.
So
I just say I see that card popping up in a lot of different, like not even just Bant lists, but it's in like the ramp list.
no, if you look at these lists, there's not a lot of 2-drops. That's the one thing there's really a dearth of. And Advocate is by far probably the best 2-drop this deck has access to outside of Jace. And I know one of the things that you everybody who looks at these Jace decks, I know if you don't have Jaces, it makes you sad because you're like, oh look, another deck with Jace. Jace is that good. Okay, like I was like, well, there's only 7 spells in this deck. Yeah, like have you ever drawn a card off your Jace, then discarded your Death Mist Raptor, so you can bring it back later? Let me tell you, it feels real good.
Not to mention, I mean, we just talked about how Collected Company was one of the best cards, if not the best card.
Oh,
like
it's real good to flash back.
If
too.
that's the only thing that you're flashing back, I think you're doing fine.
And Command as well. Like the cards you're flashing back are high impact. So
Now, it's important to note that Brad's list only has 3. So,
now, so they did mention though that so we've talked before with the numbers on 3, and I think Chapin is one who's addressed this before. But the idea is that if you're playing 3 of something, that's like the highest likelihood of seeing the first one without drawing a second one. Okay, and that maybe sounds
the
obvious.
general idea, yeah.
That may sound obvious, but it's it's the highest chance of having it in your hand, right? Like sometimes you play 2 of and you can draw it whenever, but Jace you really do want on turn 2. So 3 seems I don't mind playing 3. The 4th one would be fine, but then I'm not sure what you're cutting to get the 4th one. But of course, like the king in this list is Reflector Mage.
yeah.
It's so good. I don't know if you're noticing, like you guys are talking about these lists, but just pay attention to how many copies of Reflector Mage there are in this top 8.
A lot.
There's a ton. The card is too good.
Well, instant speed, yes. Stapling flash under that card.
Even not
still
instant
on
speed.
turn 3, actually just fine.
All right, fair enough.
Do you know how many times you just bounce Hangerback Walker and like laugh? Like you never have another window to cast that card again. The game's like you're done casting that card. It's done nothing.
Yeah, I played
That's
against,
very true.
At game day, I played Red Black Dragons, and I got my my Thunderbreak region Reflector Maged, and it was completely correct. So it's like, all right, take 3, but then I was like, oh, well,
I don't have anything to
I
do.
guess go. Like, yeah, it's just a beating. I mean, I think that everybody knew that card was good, but I think people underestimated exactly how good the ability was of not being able to play the card the next turn.
Yeah.
I think we haven't had too many cards that have that.
So, something that I think that could pick up if these lists, do come up, the 1 green card that you can sacrifice a creature and then reveal cards until you hit a creature put into your hand. I forget what that card's called.
Oh,
Evolutionary Leap.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that might pick up sideboard-wise?
So the one thing I'll say about these lists, you don't actually have a ton of extra mana.
Fair enough.
It sounds awesome, but like you have to cast Evolutionary Leap the turn you'd want to cast a creature, and then you have to pay the tax.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just you're not running anything like some of the older company lists even ran things like like Leaf Gilder or Radiclaw Mystic. So some of your guys had the option to sack themselves, but you're not doing anything with that here. So the card in a bubble sounds really powerful, but I'm just not sure because it's really
tough to leave it open and
it is.
cast it and not get punished for it anyway.
Because like the way, if you look at the curve, like you want to play like a Jace or an Advocate on turn 2, you want to play one of your 3-drops on turn 3, right? And then you literally want to start casting either 2 spells the next turn, Collected Company, or flipping up a Den Protector. So like that curve is like really specific, and that's if you hit every land drop.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe late in the game, but by the time late in the game, like you've already the Wrath effect has come through,
Right.
And then instead of drawing a creature, you drew an Evolutionary Leap. Makes your future creatures much more live, but in this format, any of the decks that are playing Wrath effects can, especially since they only have to play like small ones like Radiant Flames, like dragons will just kill you before that happens. You know what I mean? I don't see that card being anywhere near close to useful in the mirror. So, yeah, I'm not sure on that one. It sounds sweet. It really does sound sweet. But having played the deck, I think if you would ask me this before I started trying to test the deck, I would have agreed with you. But having played the deck a little bit now, and I'm not like an expert with this, but the mana just doesn't feel like it's there.
No. I haven't played a lick of it, so I believe you. Anything else we want to touch on as far as the MOCS goes? How do we think the standard format shaping up? We're probably going to talk about it more next week because we have an RPTQ to talk about,
Which is why I'm testing all these random decks.
but
I think you really hit the nail on the head, and I don't know if you said this actually in the cast last week. You may have just said it outside of it, but you thought that like this blow up in Modern and this weird dearth of events has sort of made everyone forget about Standard. Like if we had had this MOCS, we wouldn't have even seen like this Bant Company deck evolve the way it has. So the format, I don't think the format's anywhere near like actually solved. You know what I mean? Like it's the largest it's going to be for a long, long time. Okay. And yet, there's not a lot of incentive to do much else with it right now. Like, look at these company decks. You could have been playing this company deck for a while now. Like, obviously, Reflector Mage being a good new addition, but people for a long time, like we rode this curve of like Collected Company being good and then like not good enough, and then it was like, okay, we figured out what we can do with Collected Company, and then it's like, oh wait, we could do all these things with Collected Company. I mean, Ferguson alone was just like, I'm gonna play, I don't know, these cards with it.
Yeah. Hey, remember when we reviewed that card? Oh wait. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, right?
You did, but
hey, just
kinda.
saying. So I think David, you and I both said this week we were considering trying to buy into them just because this is
they're going to be around for a while,
and they're seeing a lot of play in Modern too. So and the decks that are possibly good against the Eldrazi deck. So
well, I mean, even just for Standard, I mean, Company and Reflector Mage are still going to be in Standard after the next rotation, so they'll be around for at least another 6-7 months or whatever.
Man, you can play a Company Area Interlude deck if you have enough Enter the Battlefield triggers that are good enough.
I mean, theoretically, a lot of the Bant Company deck still exists post-rotation when you really look at it. You lose, your fetches, for sure. You lose Wingmate Rock if you're playing the Brad Nelson version. You lose, Arishan Cleric? Okay.
Yeah.
In the sideboard? Yeah. That's about it.
Well, I think the mana base is a big...
Valor
big.
stance.
The mana base is big, but we don't know what we're going to get to replace these things. You'll still have
Sure.
Lumbering Falls and dual lands that are allied colors, which makes Bant still appealing.
Yeah.
And you'll still have the Pain lands, too, which still gives you Avamaya Coast. So,
Yep.
I agree this deck, when you start identifying decks that may still be around, I mean, heck, you can keep Jamoka's Command. Like, that's...
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it's still...
Man, I feel like I know Siege Rhino's the card to talk about. I just feel like we've had, like, Jamoka's Command forever now, too. Just, like...
Yeah.
It's been a staple.
For too long, almost.
That card's $3 right now. I was having to look when they at Star City had their sale. I was like, what? Like,
I think it's just because it's come in and out of the format so much. It's like it's been like really good at times, and other times it's just been complete trash, and then it just kind of
Wanes.
goes back and
it waxes and wanes.
Right, and like playability. So, like I remember, everybody like that card made Outpost Siege just unplayable, when it first came out. But anyway, I don't think the Standard's nearly done evolving yet. I think, I mean, if we continue to see the shift towards these Bant Company decks, I think you might see the ramp decks kind of step up and start to take over from there. And honestly, that's what makes Standard just different than I guess every other format.
Mm-hmm.
Is like there's really no one deck that's going to dominate because there's always something else that can beat it.
Yeah. You always have that advantage, typically, with the last
like
few
good couple years. Yeah, I mean,
the
like
worst they got was
good.
like Theros Standard. When it was just
Right.
like mono black and mono blue, and who cares?
Yeah,
And red white if you were a powerful magician. But yeah, we'll certainly take any more tournaments we get from over the weekend. We'll have a standard classic, I believe, that we'll have to glean information from, and then kind of go on from there to talk about the RPTU a bit more in depth and kind of predict what's going to happen.
we also have a Legacy Classic happened over the weekend.
I mean, yeah.
See if them Eldrazi's going to
I
Legacy.
guess that's true. I mean, you got a lot of busted lands in Legacy.
You can just play like 20 Ancient Tombs if you wanted to.
I fully expect that, in all honesty, for it to be there. And if it does show up in Legacy, then maybe that's the place where you choose to play that deck.
I think Chapin was also brewing with it in Vintage in his article this week.
Yeah. Pretty great.
Though if you do want to play Eldrazi in Legacy, I would suggest picking up your City of Traders because they are on the reserve list.
Will not be in Eternal Masters.
Correct.
Also, we already talked about this, but like Ancient Tomb is one thing I've seen. There's like 100 fake lists going around. Don't believe any of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like every single list I've seen has had at least one. Like Curse Scroll. Like, all right, everyone, stop. Just stop.
All right, pack it up. No
reserve list. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it is. Shucks. You know what I mean? Or like MOCS Simon. And it's like, no, it's okay. They already reprinted that once. I'm like, yeah, actually, the printing of that card and a couple others is what caused them to get upset about the whole reserve list thing. So let's just slow it down.
Just stop. Sorry.
So.
You're done. You're done. Anyway, there's also game day. We are in the midst of a game day champion. Dave, congratulations.
Oh, yeah. I took it down.
I think it was like
Finally.
a Gorillas in the Mist joke somehow.
You played Red Black Dragons, and I also played Red Black Dragons, but I did not fare so well. But our lists were not too much different, I don't think.
No, I just played. I played Tom Ross's main deck from the Columbus Open.
Yeah.
Where he finished in the top 4. So I changed a few cards on the sideboard, but for the most part, it was just Tom Ross.
That's pretty much was my starting point.
Yeah, and like I didn't want to change too much because it was my first time playing the deck, so I just wanted to try it out and see what I liked, see what I didn't like. So didn't want to mess with it too much.
I think we kind of walked away with the same thing with the deck being okay.
It was powerful at sometimes. Like if you curve out, if you go like Hangerback Walker into whatever Phoenix, into Thunderbreak Region, into Kolaghan or something like that, then yeah, it felt great. When that didn't happen, it felt really clunky.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask you guys because that's the other deck I'd been testing, and I didn't play on Saturday. I played the go to see Deadpool eat at a really good place for food and hang out with my wife. I was really a game day champion.
I did that.
Too.
I did that on the 14th.
I did that then too. I had a really nice weekend. It was very, very nice.
My fiance worked on Saturday. I couldn't do it.
Anyways, but that's what I've been seeing. The removal suite feels really powerful, but with almost everything being 2 mana, like either have Fire Impulse or Murderous Cut later costing 1. I feel like there's a lot of turns where you desperately need to be able to like cast a threat and play a removal spell, and like you can't in those middle turns. You don't have any other 2-drop that's really worth playing, and like your 3-drops are one of them's okay. Thopter Engineer is fine. Like, it's grown on me. It does some good things. The 1/3 body is relevant. Curving it into P and Kieran Nalaar is pretty sweet. But, man, Flamewing Phoenix is awful.
Yeah.
Just awful.
It definitely felt like just the worst card in the deck. Now, I mean, it does fit. I guess the quote-unquote theme of the deck is just flyers. So it fits that theme, I guess.
Wings, check.
Yeah, I mean, I not once did I ever, like, bring it back from the graveyards. It was always just, like, 2/2 haste flyer.
Yeah, that was it, pretty much.
Yeah, and the fact that it had to attack actually cost me a game. So, definitely if there was something better, I would play it. I don't know what that is right now. So,
and I think that's so I was glad to see you dwell with it, but I do think like that deck, it is super powerful, but it's in such a weird place. I actually wrote my my Comic Town article for it this week. So heading over to comictown.net. Take a read.
Yep, take a look at their articles. Lots of good writers on there.
But also mentioned that, because I asked you about this and I know how you felt. Did you feel like you flooded out with the deck at all?
I never really had that issue. But again, I mean, it was 5 rounds plus top 8. I only played 4 rounds in the Swiss. So we drew in the last round,
so not a ton of actual...
Yeah, I played the 7 total matches with it.
Sure, and it's not a terrible sample size. What about you, Morgan?
There were times where I didn't feel like I was flooding out, but I was just like not drawing anything that was relevant. Like, and I just needed to draw something that would kill my opponent, and just failed to.
I feel like that deck struggles to do that. Like, Kolaghan is sweet, but
Yeah.
there's not a lot of other cards off the top that actually just kill your opponent. They're powerful cards, but they're not doing that. And like 26 lands is so much for a mid-range deck. It scares me. It legit, like even in testing, like the games where it's just like, man, I really hope I don't draw another. Oh no, I now feel like I can't win this game.
Yeah, there is definitely those instances. And when I saw the land count too, I was a bit suspect. But you also just don't have any, like, you don't have any card draw. Like, you don't have anything that you actually use to manipulate the deck. You're just like, oh, well, hope I draw something good.
See cheating?
No, he's not. Just you.
Just me.
Yeah, I definitely feel like with the main deck, like you said, there's really no way to. You don't even have like scry or anything. It's just like you're just at the mercy of your draws, which is okay. I don't want to say I generally don't, but I usually don't play decks like that. Like I always try to play some kind of filtering or like Jace decks or whatever. But after Sideboard, I played a couple Read the Bones. Those felt pretty good. Depending on the matchup. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. Grasp of Darkness was definitely kind of awkward because it's the only card that costs double black.
In the main deck, at the very least.
In the main deck. So, that I was kind of wishing it was something else, but I also didn't play against any Anafenzas, so I understand. It's really good against that card. So maybe it's just the matchups that I had.
Good against that card.
Yeah, I will say the Thopter Engineers were awesome. That Overholding Outburst, I think, is 100% correct. And even got to do like the hasted Hangerback Walker trick. Just play a Hangerback Walker like on my second main, then passed, and like attack into it, not knowing that it could activate.
Yeah,
I got to do that a couple times. It was sweet.
And they get real upset for a second.
They're like, "Oh no, you just cast it." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." They just point to my Thopter Engineer. Oh yeah.
I mean, like you get to do the sweet Hangerback for 2 when you have
5 minutes.
Yeah. That's pretty sweet. You can just take it up at the end, and play it for 2, and then take it up immediately, or at the end of their turn or whatever. So that was sweet. I think the card's fine.
Yeah, so what I've been looking at is like a Grixis version. Then maybe if the weakness is like just not having enough ways to look, just playing. I know, Jace. And but then if you add a third color, you get to play like Painful Truths.
Yeah, I do think like even if you are only splashing for just Jace, even if you're not playing any other blue cards, like having another 2-drop that you can play, like will make the deck run a lot smoother. Gives you a little bit more selection, which is kind of what I was wanting. And like even just like being able to flashback and removal spells is awesome.
Mm-hmm. And you could even potentially like play sweet sideboard cards.
You get access to counter magic.
Yeah,
if you really want it.
Like
so.
I don't know how many dispels you need because the collected company decks are generally pretty favorable, I think, for red black, but it's not like a landslide. You know what I mean? Like I think your slight favorite, but I mean playing dispels would probably solidify that.
Or even like negate. Like
right.
I think negate's like a really powerful card that you gain access to at that point in time.
Yeah.
And Disdainful Stroke still. That card is also still great. So
I think the only problem with all those, and probably not as much with Dispel, is like, but you tend to tap out a lot.
That's true. I talk about the removals all two mana, so that is very true.
Right, but I think Dispel is probably well worth it if you're playing the blue splash. So like if I decide to go that route, I think Jace is really good, and like Painful Truths isn't really blue, but like it's kind of like you're gonna play that over Read the Bones if you're playing a third color. So that's kind of like another splash.
And then the card you mentioned earlier was possibly playing like Silumgar the Drifting Death as well. You can play that.
I think that could be good. I mean, I have to think about it a little bit more, but I think being able to trigger it off of multiple dragons and getting a -2 is a lot better than just the normal -1 that you get off of it.
Also, being able to get the trigger essentially with haste. Like I played Silumgar the Drifting Death, back when I was still playing the 4-color dragon deck, and it was nice that you knew you would have like a Thunderbreak Regent already in play, so you could just like play that and attack and get a trigger. So that was pretty sweet. And honestly, even in like the mirror match, that's probably pretty good. Like if there's just a ton of Thopter tokens, you don't want to die to a Culligan. There's like, oh well, here's the thing that can block Culligan. You can't kill it. Oh, and all your tokens are dead. So that's kind of sweet. I really Dragon's obviously a deck that appeals to me. Just the way that the red-black version is built does not appeal to me from a play style variant. I like a deck that can, it can attack for a ton, but it can also like play a more controlling version. And the red-black version does not play control well at all. Like you have like a couple removal spells, but you have no way to get an advantage. All of your card advantage is in the creatures, so you are really, really linear in that game plan. So I like the idea of being able to like stop with like a Jace, and all of a sudden you can double up on removal spells. You can refill your hand and slow the game down if you need to, and that's sort of that style I like to be able to switch on a dime. So
yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. I think we're ready to head into the end of the show here. So we have the return of Star City Games after a bit of a lapse, and they're going to Louisville, and it's going to be a lovely modern tournament, as we have spoken of before. And interested to see what kind of comes out of this. They're going to have a couple of classics as well in the standard and legacy variety.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to just this weekend in general. I think all three of those tournaments are going to be very interesting to see.
For sure.
See
For
what
sure.
happens.
Also, Comic Town's having some pretty interesting and awesome events that are going to be happening over the weekend. So, for the F&M starting this Friday going forward, they're going to have an 8:30 p.m. a two-headed giant draft, and it's going to be limited to 4 teams. So, if you do want to do it, maybe show up early and register your team to do so. Basically, you'll do a awesome four-headed giant draft. If you haven't. I know that.
Giant?
Yeah, if you haven't done a two-headed giant draft, I should say. I know that we have talked about this before, but it is an amazing thing to experience,
That's
and
such
you
a
should
sweet
do
format.
it.
Oh man, I think they're actually running that event on Friday as their third F&M.
Yeah,
Running.
correct.
So that's kind of sweet too.
Yeah, and then for this Saturday and Sunday at noon, they're actually doing a two-headed giant sealed tournament, which is pretty awesome. Again. Two-headed giant sealed. It's a very popular pre-release format, but this is going to be, no pre-release packs or anything like that. It's a, genuinely run two-headed giant, sealed tournament. So a good way to open a bunch of cards with a buddy, and then build some sweet decks. Get to play around with Surge, not the actual drink, but the mechanic for most of the Gatewatch. You could drink Surge while casting Surge cards.
Surge theme.
Surge theme two-headed giant. I believe if they run 3 of these tournaments, they get a oversized Oath of Chandra card, mm-hmm. And then if you participate, you get entered into a drawing to win it. Now, you are a team. So I don't know if the team gets entered in or if you personally just get entered in. Either way, if it is just the team, well, then you might have to share custody of a giant oversized Chandra card. Or if you paired with Mike, you don't win an oversized Chandra card. Mike does.
Yes, to go with my Chandra poster print and my Chandra Game Day Champion mat that are hanging in the room we're casting in.
Correct. So yeah,
I make giant censor bars for the flavor text because it bothers me so much. But beyond that, the art is kind of sweet. So
yeah,
cool.
No,
and I think it's cool that we sort of lamented the fact that they're like, hey, we designed this for two-headed giant, and then weren't pushing it. So for Wizards to sort of to sort of be like, you know what? Here's an initiative for stores, run these events, and then for Comic Town to be like, yeah, sure, let's do this. I'm going to be down there. My wife's going to be down there. My brother's coming to town. He's going to go. Morgan, you're going with us.
Yep.
We're going to be down there on Saturday playing some two-headed giant sealed.
I'm very excited.
And it's going to be sweet.
I'm very, very sweet.
And if you were ever worried, if you ever wondered what I would look like as 4 years ago, my brother will be here to show you. So,
that's true. You can see. You can see the ghost of Mike's Christmas past.
And you know what? Shout out to my brother because he is a diligent and dutiful listener, despite only knowing what we're talking about half the time. He hasn't played Magic in a while.
Oh, fair enough.
Thanks, Adam.
You know what? That's very nice. That's very nice.
You.
I'm excited to see you again, and thank you for listening. And then we do want to remind our listeners that there is a last chance qualifier for the regional PTQ that's going to be on the 27th, I believe.
Yes.
For the regionals on the 28th. So you have a last chance to qualify for Comic Town's hosted regional PTQ if you really want to. I know that I'm not qualified. Dave, you're not qualified. So I guess we're going to be battling it out. See who gets qualified.
And then if we do bad in that, they're also running a PPTQ for the next regional that same day.
There you go.
On the 27th.
So if you suck at one,
I'm not playing in that because I hope I'm doing well in the last chance.
I'll probably be at that.
Yeah,
that there you go.
So,
makes sense since you can do that, and then you'll win it, and then you won't have. We'll start this whole thing over again.
Yeah.
We know that you don't like playing in PBTQs. We understand that, Mike.
I kind of do like playing PBTQs. I don't understand.
He's too good at them. Then he can't play anymore.
Anyway, but no, I mean, and that's a great chance for you to go out and test some standard.
It's true.
If it is standard, I guess I should probably check that.
They're all 3 of them are standard.
Okay, perfect, good. Then we're covered. I would have felt like a fool if it was modern, or limited or sealed for some reason. Oh man, that would have been terrible. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this episode of At Your End Step. Please make sure you follow us on Twitter. We're at @SymbolYourEndStep. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/@YourEndStep. We have an email address, atyourendstep@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact us. Also, feel free to leave us a review on iTunes. We super appreciate that. If you have any feedback or anything like that, be sure to let us know. But that, again, is everything for this week. We'll catch you guys next time. You have a great one. Bye.